we're gonna show you at Miss Cindy's Kitchen a recipe that I saw online, and then I actually saw it on a package. So remember, I always tell you to look on the backs of your food packages for recipe ideas. Gotta get that extra syllable in there. Anyway, this recipe is for easy Brazilian cheese bread. And rather than regular all-purpose flour or any other wheat-based flour, we're going to be using tapioca flour. So that's one of the ingredients. And we have 1 egg, half a cup of shredded cheddar cheese, and this is shredded off the block, because off the block is better, because shredded cheese pre-packaged from the store is very convenient, and if that's what you have on hand, don't worry about it, it works. The pre-packaged cheese doesn't melt as well or incorporate as well into recipes, so if you can, off the block is better. So that's half a cup of cheddar, and then we have 1.5 cups of tapioca starch or tapioca flour. And I've noticed that cornstarch and corn flour, those terms are used interchangeably. It just depends upon I guess the geography of who's you know, providing the name of the ingredient. Sometimes in Europe they call it you know, flour versus starch. But anyway, so, and then we also have a half teaspoon of salt, and then we have a 1/4 cup of oil, and then we will put in 2/3 cup of milk. So what we're gonna do first, while Dahlia gulps down her water, you would think it was something special for how much she gulps it. So we're gonna mix her. We're going to put in 1 egg, and then the 1/4 cup of oil. So like most recipes, we do the wet ingredients, then the dry. And then we have 2/3 cup of milk. And it says 2% milk. I just had some whole milk I wanted to use up. So I'm going to put that in. And you can reuse the same measuring vessels for your liquids. Plus it kind of rinses out the rest of the oil. It just sounds very wet. And then we have half a teaspoon of salt. So we're going to get out the half a teaspoon. And I'm partial to the pink Himalayan salt. I think it has better flavor than table salt, but that's just my opinion. You can use your iodized salt or whatever, and then add in the flour gradually. This kind of has the consistency of powdered sugar, so you're going to have some kickback on it. I'm going to get a spoon so I can add it a little more gently. Just a little bit at a time. We're going to mix in the tapioca flour. And then, when that's all incorporated, we will add in our cheese. Because when you have a real fine powder, you want to add it slowly. Because if you add it too fast, you'll end up with the stuff all over the place. When I was making frosting, I put in the powdered sugar too fast, and I ended up with it on my shoes. So I went from having black shoes.
On your shoes?
Yes, because it dusted onto the floor. So not only did it get on me and the countertop, it got on my shoes. So if you have black sneakers with white flour on them, it looks like dirt. So I had to wash my shoes. Wasn't necessarily dirty, but it still looked gross. And then After this is all mixed, we are going to pour it into 12 muffin wells, which I have pre-greased with a pan spray. Whatever pan spray you have on hand. Alright. Get the rest of the tapioca flour, and I'm going to get a spatula to scrape it down. I have lots and lots of scrapers. So, I'm going to scrape down the bowl. Oh, that stuff is so sticky. My goodness. It's such a fine powder. I think that's why it kind of made a little bit of cement on the edge of the mixing bowl. Alright. One version of the recipe called for mixing this in a mixer, and another version called for measuring it and mixing it in a blender. That just sounded weird to me, so I'm using it in the mixer. So use what you're comfortable with. I think a mixer does a good job of combining ingredients. So mix that pretty well, and then I'm going to throw in the cheese just a little bit at a time so it can incorporate. It's a cheese bread with only a half a cup of cheese, but that's okay. It sounds good. I wanted to try it. And for those of you who are sensitive to gluten, it is made without a wheat-based flour. So that might work for you if you can have tapioca flour. So anyway, let's take a look here. I'm going to shake off the rest of the cheese off the beater. This is actually called a paddle. Alright. This is what happens with lemon zest also. It gets wrapped around this paddle attachment. So let me wash off my hands real quick. Alright. Oh yeah, move. And the neatest way to scoop out muffins, the cleanest and most uniform way that is to use a cookie scoop. So first I'm going to scrape down the batter to make sure I got all the pockets of flour absorbed. So it looks like I did. So what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna put 1 scoop into each well. That has a lot of cheese in it, so just kind of scoop all the way to the bottom to get the cheese, so that way they're pretty much uniform. And this is a very wet batter. So some are coming out with more liquid than cheese. And one other way I could do this was to use that measuring pitcher I used for the milk and the oil, and to pour it from there. So that's also an idea. So I'm going to go through and put some cheese in the ones that didn't quite get enough cheese, because these are supposed to be cheese bites, cheese bread. So we're going to make sure we get the cheese somewhat evenly distributed among these, so that they're relatively even. And then these are going to bake at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. Well, it says 18 to 20 minutes. Alright, so that looks even enough. So these are going to be graded on taste, not perfection. Shift the cheese around just a wee bit. So anyway, 400 degrees, 18 to 20, and then we'll bring you back. And in the meantime, like and subscribe and share to your friends and leave us a comment. We'll be right back. Our Brazilian cheese bread baked for about 18 minutes. And I checked them with the skewer, and they puffed up so much. I went to check to make sure they were done inside, and when I poked them with the skewer, I realized they were kind of hollow, like a popover. So if you want to look at the texture, be nice, puffy, and crispy. So we'll let these cool for a minute, and then we can have a taste test. They're a little hot, so we'll be back with you momentarily. All right, and we're back. We're gonna do the taste test of our easy Brazilian cheese bread. So I was kind of anxious to try these based on the texture, but I'm gonna break it open and show you all what it looks like on the inside.
Ooh.
Look at that.
It's nice and cheesy.
Yeah. It's chewy and cheesy. The dog is looking at me.
And the dog is waiting for her tax.
Her bread tax. There you go. Anyway, it has a texture akin to a freshly made tortilla. Like halfway between that and like fresh pizza crust. But because it's tapioca flour, it's got a slightly different texture. A little chewier than a wheat-based flour. But anyway, you definitely got to make this. So thank you again for joining us on Miss Cindy's Kitchen. Just make sure you liked and subscribed and share this to your friends, and leave us a comment and come right back for another video.
Thank you for watching Miss Cindy's Kitchen. To get more recipes like this one, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications when new videos are uploaded. Share it out to your friends, family, neighbors, and leave us a comment to let us know how this recipe worked for you. And don't forget to hit that like button. Again, thank you for watching Miss Cindy's Kitchen.